They brought in family members. They brought in the passenger list with the names. The FBI brought in DNA samples to test the stuff again. So they gave it was like paint by numbers. They gave Wally Miller a book with some, colors in it and said, here's the paints, make it this color.
I hate to get grotesque, but, it has to be. Do you have any idea what family members were given? Were they given ashes? Were they given, legs of lamb? I hate to say that, but you know where I'm going.
You know what? I didn't really get into that. Wally Miller tried to say, the whole place was pretty much, the site itself was a crematorium.
Hold on, Dominic. If he said it was a crematorium, what does that denote?
And yet he still has remains to identify all the people.
But it's all ashes. What the hell's that?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
It's just another contradiction in himself.
But you know what I'm saying? In other words, we had, when I did a show on this, when I got, this hailstorm from an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand, but it's don't you understand? We're not even saying that whatever they had was the real remnants of anybody whom I think were assassinated. My point was, who oversaw this and who verified the fact that these remains, whether they were, as I just asked you, Dominic, in ashes, were you given anything fleshly? I know it's grotesque, but let's talk seriously.
Yeah, let's be real about it. There was some bone. There was finger bones. I asked Wally Miller, and this was interesting. This answer he gave me was very interesting. Because I started looking at stuff, and one of the pictures showed on a table it had a human skull.
Oy.
And I saw this picture, and I went, wow, was this recovered? I said, how did you get this? It's like a fully intact skull. And Wally was like, oh, don't go around the internet saying that we recovered some kind of skull. What that is that's just, we bring that in so that way when we find bones, we can match them up.
It's a paperweight, yeah.
Yeah. So apparently the skull that they did have wasn't actually any of the passengers. It was just for trying to identify bone fragments.
I just keep it around my office.
And then I started asking him, did you find, when you found remains, I said, was there limbs? And he was like, well, there were some. I said, so you found actual arms and legs? He's like, well, no.
Yeah.
What we found, what it was a lot of hands and feet. And he goes, this is the part that got me. He goes, the reason given to me for this is that because there's a lot of tendons in that. So what that told me was Wally Miller already had a red flag, because it was like, you're not bringing in heads or torsos or legs, you're bringing me hands with fingerprints.
But Dominic, the whole idea about this also is, and I remember that, from your work, the thing is, okay, we got hands and feet because they break off, okay, but there's still a tibia and femurs, that are attached to this.
Yeah, it's like, where's the rest?
I know. It may be broken away, but where's the rest of it?
How did the rest get destroyed in this remains?
Yes.
Well, the thing is, what remained was exactly what Wally Miller needed to identify the list of names he was given to identify. There's no, the FBI was bringing him the stuff. If he took photos of this stuff, like I said, there ain't really anything other than that one severed arm. There's nothing that you can look at and go, oh, that's part of, someone's shoulder.
Yeah, I recognize John. There's
nothing like that.
And the thing is also, when you present people with remains, think about the process. You're going to give somebody, an arm. No. You're going to give them an urn with ashes.
Yeah.
And this is speculation on our part, but my point is this. Unless any of those people did a DNA on what they were given, they have no idea what they were given.
Absolutely.
And like I said, this other person went ballistic on me. I'm not trying to be grotesque. The point is, it's a fraud that was perpetrated on those who lost people on Flight 93.
Yeah, it's not a matter of being grotesque. It's a matter of being scientifically accurate, and sometimes you have to discuss unpleasant things when you're doing that. And this is one of those instances. And Wally Miller was like, he says he still retains remains that are unidentifiable, he said.
And do we know what kind of condition they are in?
Absolutely not.
No. All right, listen, I'm going to let you have closing remarks, and I'm not so sure we're done with all this, but I'm not willing to let this drop. It's not a question of like, what dropped the trade towers, whose eyes are still on that. And like I've said to other people, everybody focuses on the WTCs, which was a horrific visual sight, no doubt about it. We don't know that much about what happened at the Pentagon, but we know nothing about Flight 93, and I think therein lies a lot of keys in the mystery. So, Dominic, final thoughts, things we didn't cover, go right at it.
Well, I think we pretty much covered a lot of it. I mean, when you look at the stuff that I've presented over the last 2 years and what I've uncovered, you can see the official story just unfold, and fall apart. You got the plane approaching. You got these people witnessing it. Even the people who witness it on the supposed flight path, the descriptions of the altitude in that is in complete contradiction with the flight data recorder, which I think is just totally bogus. You got Viola's account and this long silence afterwards. You got all these people at Indian Lake hearing the engines roaring overhead. You got accounts of some seeing a silver plane fly by and whatnot. You got Susan McElwain and these other people watching this small white plane approach, a smoke emanating directly underneath it, which, like Susan said, if there was a 757 falling out of the sky in front of her, she would have saw it.
Yeah.
It was obviously gone. By the time she got to that intersection, there was no smoke in the air. There was no 757 falling out of the sky. Viola Saylor had already passed her house. It was gone. It was over Indian Lake by the time, and who knows, maybe even New Baltimore by the time Susan got to that intersection, and that little white plane came. That little white plane came. There was an explosion. There was some kind of fire that two guys in a pickup truck with their work tools and their fire extinguishers managed to put out before Stoystown showed up with their little red volunteer truck, which was there before Shanksville, and those guys all brag with their new fire trucks and this and that. Oh, we're the guys who got there first and this, and they got all brand new fire trucks, but nothing they're saying. It's all everyone's out here telling lies. Even Viola Saylor looked at me and she's like, this ain't even Shanksville, this field. It's Lambertsville. They're lying about that.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you look at the interview, and like what sums it up is at the end, Viola Saylor, I think she did it perfect. She said, they came and they asked me to be an ambassador at the site, and I wouldn't, because I wouldn't go along with their stories.
Yeah, what does that tell you?
And that's someone who's like, hey, I saw what's supposed to be Flight 93. It flew right over my house. I also saw these two other planes. Someone's going to try to tell you one was a corporate jet, a civilian plane. It wasn't. They were military. All these other witnesses are like, it wasn't no corporate jet. That's a lie. Everybody out there, and that's why a lot of people believe it was shot down, is because they know the government. Flight 93 has, in my mind, I've proven the official story false. I think a lot of people out there hopefully will look at this information and help spread it and bring this awareness and knowledge to others, because I think it's pretty damning.
Dominic, we know that something dropped on the marina. It was either, and I'll let you, and I want to tie this up because that's the last thing. One, it was either something that passed over and dumped the shit, or it was a drone that detonated and did its thing over the lake. What do you think?
I would have to say it was something that passed over dropping it. Now, does this support the notion that the plane was shot down? It's a possibility. I'm still open to that. A lot of people will talk about, the infamous Westmoreland County 911 call from Ed Felt, and they'll talk about Glenn Kramer, who was the supervisor. John Shaw took the phone call. Glenn Kramer told the press that Ed said he was in the bathroom, that there had been an explosion and white smoke were filling up on the plane. And then these people, they go and they link, the New York Times a year later interviewed Glenn Kramer, and he was like, that wasn't true, I didn't hear that, I read a transcript, that didn't happen. But what a lot of people don't know about is